You're listening to the We're Talkin' Sports podcast, hosted by Ben Burns and Richie Donnell. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our website at mysportstop.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Ben Burns and Richie Donnell.
Welcome. We're back. We're
back.
talking sports.
Yep.
Still no Brett.
No Brett.
He'll be back next week.
So,
yep. So we'll be at full force, and we can get back to our greatest coaches bracket.
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Did he? We're supposed to be planning a new.
We're gonna
bracket.
do new. Yes.
Has he sent you that?
He
information?
has sent it. He has sent the information. We'll talk about that bracket once we're done with the first bracket, which we are not done with.
Yeah.
But you kind of said it was a slow week in sports.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree fully because we're in the most exciting time for football right now.
Right. And
It's the best time for football.
It's not that it's a complaint saying that I'm not enjoying watching playoff football.
Okay.
It's just that I mean, when you're trying to fill out enough for a show to talk about for our length of time, there's really not a whole lot going on besides the 4 games. You know what I mean?
I get it. Because you're a Bears fan. That's it. Okay.
Here we go.
I mean,
here we go.
You should just enjoy. We're seeing one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Ben Roethlisberger?
He's one of them.
Tom Brady?
He's another.
Oh, Matt Ryan?
Not Matt Ryan.
Oh, okay,
Not Matt
okay,
Ryan.
okay.
I'm just saying. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
Enjoy
it's.
it. I enjoyed Walter Payton when he was around.
Oh yeah, because you got to watch that.
And Dick Butkus.
Yeah.
Cherish the moment.
NFL Network, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, so you brought up this weekend.
Yeah.
The playoff games. Let's start. I mean, Green Bay and Dallas.
Legendary game.
Yeah.
It seems like any game the Packers are in for division or NFC Championship, it's bound to be just an incredible game.
Yeah.
Always a close one. They never seem to win the close ones, but they did it this time.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I think during the broadcast they were saying that McCarthy was 0-4 in games like decided by 3 points or less in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, as a Packer fan, I'm fortunate. You should be fortunate to be a Packers fan just because, they've made the playoffs how many years straight? 9 years straight, something like that. But, they a lot of heartbreaking losses. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be this one, too, towards the end. It didn't look very good, but they stood tough. And, Aaron Rodgers, once again, just coming up with one of the best passes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Along with one of the best catches.
Right. And not only how great of a game this is no matter who you root for, whether it was Green Bay losing or Dallas losing, which they ended up doing.
Right.
I think one of the most common things that you're going to hear about this game, too, is how bad the officiating was. The entirety of that game.
Right.
Not just for one team, but, Devontae Adams was held much.
When your jersey is hanging below your shoulder pads, there should be a holding call.
Right, yeah. They missed, 3 calls on Devontae Adams, and then they missed the hold on Jared Cook's catch.
Right.
They need to figure something out with these officials first. Granted, this game was historically great, as you said.
They did miss a lot.
But going forward, to have a game of this magnitude and this legendary, you need to have something.
And you're absolutely right. And I don't think you said the Jared Cook holding call. I don't know, but there could be a call even more controversial than any of those that could be last second.
Right.
Kind of situation, much like the Fail Mary, I think is the perfect example.
Right.
We don't want another one of those situations, especially in the playoffs.
Well, not only that, but we had a missed call in the Green Bay game, and I'll bring this up, but we'll go back to the Green Bay game. That the Kansas City game, there was a call, it ended up killing the Chiefs, which kind of cost them the game. There. So it was kind of the tale of two stories for each of those games on Sunday. But back to the Green Bay game, I think the biggest relief for Packer fans has to be the fact that they played well enough without Jordy, because it looks like Jordy might not be ready for this Sunday.
Right,
game.
I don't think he will be.
As of today, going against Atlanta, who just seems to have a high-powered offense, and the way that they just kind of picked apart Seattle, who's been an elite defense for the last couple of years. Granted, they're missing Earl Thomas, but I don't think anybody expected them to just manhandle the Seahawks the way they did.
I expected that one-on-one Julio versus Richard Sherman matchup. I expected that to be a lot more even. Julio dominated that matchup, which worries me for Ladarius Gunter, who, one-on-one against Dez Bryant, it was no competition at all. Granted, I think Gunter gets a lot of credit just because, he is a second year, undrafted.
Yeah. And he should be on the practice squad if we're realistically speaking.
Oh, absolutely. And, but it's, they're going to have, Dom Capers is going to have to put together some cover schemes, especially for Julio. And not only him, you have Taylor Gabriel, who is a speedster, and Mohamed Sanu, also a talented receiver. Both
of those running backs,
Coleman and Freeman are both receiving threats.
Right, what confused me with Dallas was the Packers could not stop Ezekiel Elliott. They didn't seem to have an answer. Every time he got the ball, he's going 4 or 5 yards. He's getting to the edge and turning upfield. He didn't necessarily have the big, huge breakaway touchdown run, but he kind of got he did his own and got his own yardage throughout that game. And Dallas going away from that. That's my stopwatch.
Oh, is that going to turn off anytime soon?
It goes off in a minute.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. But anyways, with, a lot of 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, Dallas decided to pass it. You saw Dak Prescott in the shotgun a lot. And, I know in that 2-point conversion with Prescott, that designed QB draw, that turned out well. But overall, it seemed like they decided to depend on Prescott more than Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
And whereas they probably should have leaned on Elliott a little bit more towards the fourth quarter when they started to give more attention to Dez Bryant.
Right. Yeah, and I think, you talk about the attention to Dez Bryant, and I think that's kind of one of the things that led to that late-game interception, that when they lined up to the top, which would have been the top of the screen for us, and Dak just kind of snapped it and threw it without really looking, and Hyde just jumped in.
At that play, you knew it was going over there. And, luckily for Hyde, he caught it right away.
Right. Watching that game and talking about that play, they were lucky that it wasn't a fake. Because if it was, sure. that was going for 6 points.
Yeah, that's a touchdown.
But you talk about the attention to Dez. You had all your guys over there. Plus, you probably even had some help if needed, which allowed Hyde to be able to make that play.
Well, and I think the problem there was Dak telegraphed it.
Right. And
he needs to, even though it's, obviously designed to go to Dez in that play, or was it Dez or Terrence Williams?
It was supposed to go to Williams, and I think Dez was supposed to block Hyde.
Right. It was supposed to go to Williams. I know it was designed there, but you still got to go through your reads.
Right, yeah. And if you see a guy jumping that route, you can't just turn and throw blindly.
Right.
Because there's that's awful. And, with all the credit that, with Aaron Rodgers, that throw was incredible. The catch was probably, just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
We just talked about what Dak did there, making that mistake. We have to realize that those guys are still rookies. Which if you're a Dallas fan, granted, you lost yesterday, and there was a lot of talk because Dallas is formerly, quote unquote, America's team, whereas now Green Bay kind of taking the slogan where the Green Bay and Dallas probably have the biggest fan bases, besides Pittsburgh in the NFL. To have Prescott and Elliott and see them be able to compete at that level in that type of a game, in that high-pressured situation, in crunch time, and still be able to make plays, I think bodes well for Dallas for the future.
Oh, my gosh.
And then those fans have to be extremely excited for what's to come.
Right. I don't think anybody should be ashamed of Dallas right now. I mean, I know we're not big fans of First Take or anything like that, but I saw yesterday they were discussing, was the Cowboys season considered to be a failure? Right. And of course, they were saying, oh yeah, it's a failure, but really it's not. It's a major success. Right. You found your 2 building blocks for the next decade, and I don't know what other team in NFL history could say something like that, finding 2 Pro Bowl rookies.
Right. I mean, I think realistically speaking, I think the only teams that you can never say making it to the second round of the playoffs, and Dallas had that first round bye, is a failure. I think the only teams that really have that expectations of Super Bowl or bust every year are probably the Patriots and maybe the Packers because of their Green Bay, New England, because their fan base is so
and probably Denver Peyton Manning era.
Right, in the Manning era, right. And it just to say that 2 rookies had a failure season going 14-2 and making it to the second round of playoffs, losing by a field goal. That's
to Aaron Rodgers.
Right, to Aaron Rodgers of all people. Right, it's awful. So moving on to that next Sunday night game, Pittsburgh versus Kansas City. I thought it was a pretty good game. The kicker for Pittsburgh had a very, very
Chris
good
Boswell,
game. Yes, MVP right there.
I think he earned himself a raise with that one.
Yeah. Can anybody stop Le'Veon Bell? Is this Pittsburgh New England game going to be everything that we expect it to be?
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, even Bill Belichick's going to have troubles with Le'Veon Bell.
Right,
and it's just. I mean, Le'Veon Bell probably has the best vision I've ever seen for a running back.
For a running back, yeah. And his patience is absolutely incredible. Just the way that he can just kind of tiptoe.
Yep.
And then boom, he's gone. It's incredible. But KC, I mean, they every year they seem to do well. They just kind of seem to flounder when it's needed most. Is this, do you think, a lack of the weapons maybe? I mean, Kansas City has never really had receivers, so to speak.
Right. I mean, right now, they were talking about, Tyreek Hill being their best receiver. Right. And he's a great weapon. He's a great, kick returner and stuff like that, but as a wide receiver, I'm not so sure.
Right.
You expect a guy like Jeremy Maclin to kind of step up there. But I think the big problem you gotta ask yourself is Alex Smith a Super Bowl quarterback?
Right.
He's a guy that will, with a good defense, which Kansas City has, he'll get you to the playoffs.
Right. But as he did in San Francisco as well.
Right. But can he get any farther than how he did this year? So I don't really know. I think heading into this draft, Kansas City should seriously consider looking at a quarterback second, third round.
Maybe a little bit later. New England, Houston. I think that game went as completely as expected. New England just kind of dominating that game.
And I think Houston put up a better fight than most people thought. Brock Osweiler didn't screw up until the second half.
Right. And Tom Brady threw 2 picks.
Right, and I think that says a lot about Houston's defense. That when they played Oakland, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, well," but it's against Connor Cook.
Right.
They actually played pretty well. AJ Bouye showed that he's a pretty darn good cornerback, and enough can't be said about Jadeveon Clowney either. So I think Houston, all they need to do is find their actual franchise quarterback.
Right. Yeah. The breaking news today was that, or big news, I should say, is that Romeo Crennel's contract is up. Yep. Which is a big news there because Houston has been heavily leaning on that defense in the past number of years. And with the talk of whether or not Bill O'Brien plans to stick around based on his own opinion.
And their offensive coordinator just shipped out, Godsey.
I mean, what can Houston expect? Is this going to be a complete overhaul for them, do you think? I mean, are they going to be the team that it's like, wow, why are they looking for a coaching staff?
No, it shouldn't be because, if if Bill O'Brien happens to leave, they're going to get a good head coach because this is a good team.
Yeah.
They have some really good pieces, especially on defense. Watt, Clowney, Merciless, Brian Cushing, the secondary.
Yeah. That's
a really good defense. And as for
I think they finished number one. I
believe so. They were the number one defense.
Yeah.
And then for offense, all they need is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Because Lamar Miller definitely had his best season,
right.
And the combination of Hopkins and Fuller is one of the best.
And Hopkins, was it last year with, I believe, Brian Hoyer, who I think was their quarterback.
Hoyer and Mallett.
Had over 1,000. He had a huge year, a breakout year.
Right.
And then they drafted Fuller, who showed flashes. If they can get a guy who can sling the ball around and kind of I guess modernize this offense a little bit closer to what most teams are doing.
And
Houston can be scary.
I think, and they will be one of the teams being talked about drafting one of these top three quarterbacks, a guy like maybe Kaiser who can throw it deep.
Right. Yeah. We talked about the surprise of Atlanta versus Seattle. I think that might have been probably the biggest shocker of how widespread that game was. Seattle obviously missing a lot of key pieces. Earl Thomas being out, that offensive line is terrible.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think you got to give credit to Atlanta. Who,
oh my gosh!
I think the last big moment for Atlanta in the playoffs was the Green Bay game, where they were the 1 seed and Green Bay went down and hammered them at their place to go to the Super Bowl. Was it the game before the Super Bowl?
I thought they made it to the NFC Championship game, though, when San Francisco made it.
I'm not 100% sure on that. That's possible.
I'm pretty sure about that.
But I mean, everybody, I guess, expected Atlanta to kind of fall apart and maybe not necessarily be as good or live up to the hype that they had in the regular season. But I mean, what can we expect next week? Can Atlanta keep this hot streak going? I mean, they might be as hot as Green Bay, Green Bay being the hottest team in the league right now. But it's going to be a shootout for sure.
Right. Well, the last time they were in the NFC Championship game was the 2012-13 season.
Okay.
When they lost to the 49ers. But what they proved last week is that this offense might be the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
The most well-rounded. You said it, with their 2 running backs or receiving threats. Julio Jones is the best receiver in the NFL. Then they have Gabriel and Sanu. So many weapons, and I think they have the potential to tear Green Bay apart.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be up to Green Bay now to continuously answer back.
Right, yeah. It's going to be a game where you can't trade touchdowns for field goals just because this game's going to be so fast-paced. They're
going to be going for it on 4th down a lot.
Right, yeah. And with Atlanta, whenever when I was on my way over here, whenever their season is over, Kyle Shanahan is expected to be the 49ers head coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously an appealing job, but do you think that Atlanta has enough to go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, honestly, right now, any of these 4 teams could win it.
Right.
And, I mean, and that's saying a lot because last week, at this time last week, I was saying it's going to be New England 100%.
Right.
Right now, the way kind of everybody played, I think it's super even, and I think that's exciting.
Yeah,
because
it is.
There's no monopoly here, it could go 4 ways.
Right. Yeah. Completely agree. So with all the news of the playoff games, teams were still hiring coaches.
Right.
So through this list, I mean, the Chargers hired Anthony Lynn, who was thought to get the Buffalo job. Good hire?
I think it is a good hire. I think Lynn is kind of. I mean, he at this time last year he was their running backs coach, not even their offensive coordinator, but he's been the guy who was kind of expected to replace Rex Ryan,
right? Like
you said, even before Ryan was fired, he was a guy on the Bills' radar. But I like Anthony Lynn. He seems like a real people's coach or players' coach.
Well, and I think it fits the mold of the fact that even though the Chargers haven't necessarily been good on defense, their success has always come from Phillip Rivers, and they need Rivers to get back to that MVP-type play if they're going to succeed.
Well, and I think it's smart that they're planning on keeping Wiz and Hunt, too, keeping him in the fold. I wouldn't have been upset if they just promoted Wiz and Hunt, but obviously that was not in their plans.
Right.
But I think Lynn, I'm excited to see him get his shot.
Yeah. Moving across the stadium to the other LA team, or not quite across the stadium
not yet.
But the LA Rams made their hire of Sean McVay from Washington, the youngest coach in the history of the NFL to date. Not only, I think this is a good hire because obviously they need to develop golf in that offense, but to go out and then hire Wade Phillips, I think was the best move of any head coach that did get hired.
Well, see, I don't know about that. I think Wade Phillips is a darn good defensive coordinator, but are the Rams a 3-4 team?
I mean,
honestly, you got to look at their best players. Aaron Donald, he is a 3 technique.
Right, and I agree with you to the point, but I think in certain cases, when you have like a player like an Alec Ogletree who was a rush outside linebacker in college, and you have some pieces of kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah,
you can run a little bit more of like ball. Right. I don't know if you're Baltimore. I believe it was the middle 2000s.
Yeah,
when Terrell Suggs played.
I got you there, and I guess Quinn could go back and forth as well. But I mean, I'm looking at Aaron Donald. He's their best player, and I don't think. I think he's being super underutilized as a 5 technique defensive end in a 3-4 defense. But I mean, Wade Phillips has made it work in several different teams, so I'm not too worried about that.
Let me ask you this: when J.J. Watt was at Wisconsin, did you ever think he would be a 3-4 defensive end?
I don't think anybody thought he'd be one of the best defensive players to ever play the game.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, he's an anomaly.
Yeah.
But then with Sean McVay, definitely a below-the-radar hire.
Yeah.
I was thinking Los Angeles would go all the way with Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
But, I'm just so surprised nobody's waiting for these Patriots coordinators.
Right. And I think before today, obviously, I think a lot of people were saying that they were confused as to why Patricia, McDaniels, and Shanahan, to this point, people were not waiting and just going ahead, and I don't know. Apparently, they know something that we don't. I don't get it.
I don't know. Because these guys are building your future, and if it's just we can get him in a month early.
Right.
Really? That's not going to affect it.
I mean, the really only thing that might affect is the Super Bowl will be in what? 3 weeks, because you have this week is the championship games, then you have the Pro Bowl, then the Super Bowl. The only thing that waiting that long affects is probably whoever it is you want to go to the combine and see, which you can write that list on the way over. Right,
and they're going to go to the combine no matter what.
Exactly, right. Which
they're going to keep their own.
Which most coaches do. Which, so I don't know. I mean, to me, this was probably the most confusing hire I did not expect, and was Jacksonville. Doug Marrone. I've heard a lot of people like it and thought that promoting him wasn't necessarily the worst thing, because he did have a winning season in Buffalo and decided to opt out when the new owners came in because he had that opt-out clause and didn't want to stay. But I didn't see the reason for the promotion here. But I thought hiring Tom Coughlin was a great move for them to make him the executive president of football.
Why don't you just make him head coach? I don't get it. So, but Coughlin's role kind of confuses me, because it sounds like he's going to be in charge of the 53.
Right.
Well, then what's David Caldwell? I'm so confused.
Yeah, because and I read a piece that Doug Marrone wanted to hire a coach. I don't remember what position coach it was, or coordinator. He wanted to hire a coach. Coughlin flat out told him, no, we're not hiring him. And then told him for every assistant that's already in Jacksonville that he wants to hire, he has to interview at least 3 assistants or 3 candidates for every other position that's open.
Yeah, I kind of get it.
I like the idea of having Coughlin in charge, but I think they pulled the trigger a little soon on the head coach after naming Coughlin the head man of football.
They could have basically made the decision, made it in one press release,
right.
Kind of in that they made the decision at the same time.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think Coughlin should have been the head coach. I'm guessing they maybe wanted him to be, and he's like, maybe not now.
I'm a little old. I don't want to.
Right,
get stressed.
hey,
right.
But I'll decide who the 53-man roster is. That, I think that is his only job. What else could his job description be? Because
all I know is that sounds like the perfect job for me. I mean, just to be the executive, I'm just going to decide who the 53 guys are. GM, you take a coffee break. I got this.
And they're going to hire another guy, and he's going to decide who the starting quarterback is.
Yes.
And that's his only job.
And so I'm going to take two of my points that I have written down here.
Right.
So Doug Marrone was the offensive line coach, and he was promoted to the head coach.
Yeah.
They interviewed Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator position.
Yes, very quietly.
And apparently behind closed doors, they interviewed him for the head coaching job as well without telling anybody.
Right, because they did.
So, is this a situation where does Chip Kelly end up in Jacksonville?
No,
is that a good spot for him? Is that a bad spot for him? Should nobody hire Chip? I mean,
Chip Kelly's got to get out of the NFL.
He's got to get out of the NFL.
Get out of there.
Okay. Now, when you say that, I'm trying to think of a way to ask this. So, one of the things that we saw with Nick Saban when Nick Saban came to the NFL was that he wasn't necessarily the best at handling egos of NFL players, which is undoubtedly there. These aren't high school kids looking to transition to college. Do you think that that's something that maybe is similar with Chip Kelly? Gosh. He didn't necessarily have a whole lot of NFL, if any NFL experience before coming in as a head coach, that could be he's just going to be one of the best college coaches, and that's just his job?
Well, I don't know about that. He's got a huge football IQ, compared to other NFL coaches. But, you look at all the situations in Philadelphia, and, with LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Riley Cooper.
Right.
How that all went down.
And Riley Cooper was the one who didn't.
He was the one who didn't get cut.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about San Francisco with the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. Right. That's a lot to handle, but it seemed like he handled it all the wrong ways.
Yes.
And to me, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Would he be an offensive coordinator or an effective offensive coordinator in the NFL? Yeah, if everybody buys into his system. Right. But if I'm a head coach, I don't want him, because if we hire him as offensive coordinator, we have to do it his way.
Right. Well,
and then he's ineffective if we don't.
And looking at Jacksonville's roster, Chip Kelly is kind of known for pace.
Yeah.
A lot of people anticipate running quarterbacks, which isn't necessarily true. It's just that they move quicker because Nick Foles wasn't the best running quarterback, but he was the best quarterback in his system that Chip Kelly has probably ever had in the NFL. With Blake Bortles, the receivers that they have two adequate running backs. The offensive line probably needs an upgrade, but they have Julius Thomas, they brought back Mercedes Lewis. They have weapons.
Yeah.
Is this a team, do you think if Chip Kelly came in and brought that fast pace that I guess as a younger team could kind of adapt to that and it could be effective for them?
Honestly, I wouldn't even try it.
Okay.
I'm not even taking the risk.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know. He's like Beetlejuice at this point. Everything he's saying sounds good, but once you actually buy into it, you're in hell.
Right.
That's how I feel. I know a lot of people like Chip Kelly. They like what he brings to the table.
Yeah.
But to me, it's too much to take on, and I'd rather just get another offensive guy or even just promote someone.
Right.
Give a young kid a chance.
Yeah. Another, I think, coaching position that was filled that I think kind of shocked people was Vance Joseph going to the Broncos.
Right.
I don't think anybody anticipated Denver hiring
a
defensive coach.
Hey, you were saying that Shanahan was a lock.
I truly thought.
And I said it's not even nowhere near a lock.
But I think we both agreed on that they should have went offense.
Yeah. I think they need somebody to figure out this quarterback situation. I don't think you can just say, "Oh, we're gonna play Simeon. There we go. That's it."
So
no.
So let me ask you this. I Kyle Shanahan was obviously an offensive guy who would have needed to hire a defensive coordinator
and now,
to balance that out. But now hiring a defensive coordinator and bringing back Mike McCoy, who kind of started this whole thing. With John Fox in Denver, kind of this rebuild for the Broncos. Mm-hmm. They hired a good defensive coordinator, and now they brought back their former offensive coordinator. Do you think that maybe they just looked at it as, hey, this is just the best fit of the two, instead of trying to hire Shanahan and wait until whenever Atlanta's season was over to finish hiring a staff?
Right. I don't actually have a problem with bringing in Joseph and Mike McCoy. I think they liked Mike McCoy. I think, once San Diego, now Los Angeles, fired him, they kind of honed in on Mike McCoy. I thought it was to maybe hire him as head coach.
Right.
But obviously, if you're bringing him in as an offensive coordinator, he's going to be your play caller. So I don't have a problem with that. And you're still giving a guy like Vance Joseph, who I think is like Anthony Lynn's, a very promising players coach.
Yeah, and not to try to start any, rumors here, but could it necessarily be that maybe Denver just wanted to move on from Wade Phillips?
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems that they made these weird maneuvers and they weren't committing to Wade Phillips in the future, even though Wade Phillips had done a tremendous job with that defense. It just kind of seemed the way that they went about things.
I don't know what was going on there. And I don't I don't know why Wade Phillips would have a problem with the Broncos. I don't know why the Broncos would have a problem with Wade Phillips.
I mean, agree.
They've been extremely successful together. Yeah. So something must have happened behind closed doors.
One of the more favorite hires that a lot of people have been getting behind, saying it's quote-unquote the right hire this time, is Sean McDermott going to Buffalo.
Right.
When they hired Rex, it kind of seemed to be the flashy hire as the loudmouth guy. And McDermott has just quietly been biding his time. He was in Philadelphia with Andy Reid, and then he went to Carolina with Ron Rivera, and now he just kind of got his time.
Yeah, and he's definitely. I think he's leaving at the right time because at the current state the Panther secondary is in. It's They need to fix something, but yeah, I think he definitely deserves a head coaching spot. Do they? What's their situation on offensive coordinator? Do you know?
It's not Shula. Shula, I believe, is the quarterback's coach. I'm not sure.
Wait, Shula?
Yeah.
Isn't he the offensive coordinator for the Panthers?
Isn't that? Oh, we're talking about the Bills. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you. Sorry. Completely sorry. I'm not sure if they did hire an offensive coordinator. I do know that they took a couple of coaches from, I believe, the Panthers. Okay. That's becoming the D coordinator.
Right, and I know, they promoted either their linebackers or secondary coach to
the Bills. I think McDermott took the Bills or the Panthers linebacker coach and made him the D coordinator, and then the Panthers promoted their defensive back coach.
You're right.
Who was getting head coaching interviews. I can't remember his name, but he was getting. I know he interviewed with both now LA teams.
Right, but I think with Buffalo, I think they needed to go back to a 3 or 2-4-3. Yeah. I think that's the right thing. I think Jerry Hughes is an extremely talented defensive end, and it just wasn't working him standing up. And I think Marcel Darius is much more effective in a 4-3. And they got Kyle Williams too. But now they need to figure out. I asked you who their offensive coordinator is because they have a problem at quarterback.
Right.
And I think they finally figured out that Tyrod Taylor is not,
the answer. Yeah.
So, is it Cardale Jones? I don't know. Yeah. Probably not.
I do want to go on record saying that I think we were the first ones to say that Tyrod Taylor was not the answer.
We said it long time ago.
Yes, that I believe that was.
And everybody now just scratching their heads like, what happened?
I thought he was supposed to be good. All right. But yeah, no, I think. And if Sean McDermott I don't know if he's going to bring from somebody from Carolina. Maybe he's already hired somebody. I'm not sure. But if he can bring, maybe if he brings some sort of that variation from what Carolina does in offense. I mean, Cardale Jones is a big-bodied quarterback. Not to say he's Cam Newton, but he's that similar mold with a very strong arm. He's an athlete. And LaShawn McCoy being probably one of the best backs in the NFL, they have the pieces there to run that kind of a system that Carolina has in place that got them to Super Bowl.
Right, and I think they need a big-bodied receiver too because Sammy Watkins is struggling.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that he's always hurt. I mean, he's a talented player, but the best ability is availability.
He needs a tall buddy opposite of him.
I guess kind of big news today going into next year in the NFL. Martavis Bryant has filed for reinstatement today.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that this means for his future? Is he heading down the path of Josh Gordon, or is this kind of he's learned his lesson? I mean, I guess from an outsider looking in, what can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends right now. I mean, he will get reinstated. I don't think that's the question, but it's all about how if he buys into the team or not.
Yeah.
And I think if he does, Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, they're going to welcome him back with open arms, and they're going to give him opportunities to succeed.
Well, and Pittsburgh. I mean, outside of Ben Roethlisberger, I can't really think of anybody who has had any high-profiling cases or done anything, necessarily over the edge.
Well, Le'Veon Bell was suspended.
Oh, right, from year one as well.
Yeah, but I mean that's about it. So I think if he wants to come back, he can.
Right.
He'll have every opportunity to.
Well, and you said that Mike Tomlin would probably take him back as well. Pittsburgh, 2 years ago, or last season before he was suspended, he was kind of a breakout star for them.
Right.
Pittsburgh is this good without him.
Right.
If he can get back into football shape and be ready to go for next season, what does that mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I mean, it just means they have another weapon. And I think the important thing to remember here is, Pittsburgh can say, hey, you're welcome to come back, but just remember, we don't need you.
Right.
So, they're not like the Browns and Josh Gordon where
Josh Gordon was all they had.
He was their offense. Right. So, I think this is a bit more unique situation here where it's all up to Martavis Bryant.
Right. So, over the weekend, we had two incidences. Michael Bennett had an incident with a reporter.
Right. Yep.
And then yesterday, Antonio Brown broke the social media law.
Well, that was Sunday.
Or Sunday, I'm sorry.
Right after the game.
I'm with the holiday, I'm thrown off a little bit.
That's all right.
Do you think that these rules for how social media is used or how soon the media is allowed to interact with players, that there should be a change with kind of the issues that it seems that we continue to seem to have? And the people that get blamed aren't the reporters.
No.
It's the players who get blamed for everything.
Well, and I mean, just players need to use some common sense here. Why are you, before 90 minutes of the post-game interviews or whatever, or 90 minutes, after a game, you can't use any social media or anything like that. Why are you Facebook living in the locker room?
Yeah.
He's lucky nothing else happened. I mean, Mike Tomlin happened to swear. Okay.
Right. Well, not only that, but I think one of the other things that you did, you gave bulletin board material to a team who doesn't need it.
Right. You're absolutely right. But, like, other things could have happened. He could have taped somebody, Ben Roethlisberger walking completely naked.
Right.
Right. Something like...
Or locker room talk that you said, you're
Right.
lucky that the only thing that was said was what Mike Tomlin had said.
Right. And so, I don't know. I just, like Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger also said, he should have known better than doing that.
Right.
And, he's going to get a serious talking to.
Yeah. Now, what do you feel about the media? I believe it's only 10 minutes after a game that a player needs to be kind of calmed down, settled down, changed, and into their post-conference interview. Do you think that that's fair for players, especially to start getting those questions that soon right after a game?
Yeah, oh wow, that was a high pitch. I don't I think if they want a couple more minutes to kind of just calm down, give them that couple minutes.
Right.
And I understand that the press have a job to do and stuff, but what's a couple minutes? If Cam Newton wants to kind of do a breathing routine,
right? Because he needs
relax,
to settle down. Right.
Yeah, let him do it.
Right, and I believe it was either yesterday or Sunday. I was watching Countdown, and they were talking about this situation that happened. And I think it was Randy Moss. And Randy Moss goes, the players only get 10 minutes, which isn't really a lot of time to try to get into the locker room and get all that stuff done. He said they probably do deserve more time. He's like, but the problem is he goes, some guys get over a loss immediately, which then they can answer questions. Some guys don't get over the loss for, it takes a half hour, an hour. He goes, I've been with some players who still talk about losses from 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's like, so to try to pick a perfect science, there really is no way.
No.
But I think the players are getting too much blame in this situation versus the media with how things are being done.
Right.
Another big name in the media talking about trades. Carmelo Anthony wanted to be the tough guy and say, well, if they want to talk about trading me, that's a conversation that I guess we have to have. And try to put on his Superman cape and act like he's Mr. Tough Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Will Carmelo Anthony be traded?
No.
Okay.
No.
Does he finish his career in New York? I'm not sure what the contract is.
I don't think he finishes his career in New York.
Okay. But no trade. No trade. Okay. The other big news is probably the amount of time that LeBron James laid on the floor last night after Draymond Green went for a steal and apparently did not touch LeBron James. I did not see it. I saw all the memes that were made.
Right.
But apparently Draymond was hit with a flagrant one, which was completely unnecessary. He shouldn't have been hit with the flagrant one.
No.
And LeBron made a super big deal about it. But it was just a good play by Draymond and LeBron.
I think, I think it should have been a foul.
Okay.
I think it should have been a body foul. But that's it.
Okay.
LeBron definitely flopped. You can see his neck arch back. When it wasn't even hit.
Right.
It's very dramatic. And LeBron, I think he's just working up for his role in Space Jam too.
Yeah, that could be. Now, we obviously have a lot of superstars in the NBA, and we have the ghost fouls or the superstar fouls that are called. And LeBron obviously gets a lot of those. Players are supposed to be fined for flopping.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think that there is a day where a player of LeBron's caliber, a LeBron, a Carmelo, somebody of that nature, eventually getting a fine that says, okay, look, we get it, you're a superstar, but you're going to be treated equally in this.
That's the way it should be.
I mean, I'm right. I agree. It's the way it should be, but I don't think anybody of that caliber has been fined to date.
No.
And do you think that there is ever a day where that equality comes back?
I hope so. I think Adam Silver's so far he's been a great commissioner, and I think he'll need to put his foot down eventually and make the fine himself.
Yeah.
For that to happen.
As we're coming up here, we're halfway through January, so the trade rumors are going to start swirling.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really. The only name that I continuously see is Rajon Rondo, DeMarcus Cousins, and now Carmelo Anthony is being talked about. Who do you think probably has the most likelihood of ending up on a new team? Do we see any blockbusters this year, do you think?
I don't think we see any blockbusters. The only chance for a blockbuster, I think, would be if DeMarcus Cousins is involved.
Okay.
And I don't think he's going to get traded.
Okay.
The person maybe most likely to get traded, I'm going to say it again, Rudy Gay.
Okay.
Rudy Gay's out. He's leaving. I would make a bet in Las Vegas for that. Sacramento's they're gonna ship everyone out.
Okay.
And I think they're going to try and make it work with DeMarcus Cousins. But.
Okay. So with the All-Star coming, we had talked about All-Star voting ends sometime soon, possibly even tonight.
Yeah.
Now the rules have changed with voting. The fan vote only carries so much weight now.
Only the starters.
And a lot of it only a start. But that's how it's always been.
Right.
Was the starters.
Yeah.
So but I thought that there was a change to where the fan vote only carries so much of a percent of the vote, and the players and coaches now are given the opportunity to
right,
vote.
That's for the reserves.
Oh, for the reserves, okay.
The reserves.
Because as I said, because coaches usually always pick to the reserves regardless,
Yeah.
the fans. So let me ask this. Do you think that with fan voting, they obviously, the NBA wants to keep the fans involved somehow and keep them happy?
Yeah.
I'm not sure as of the second releasing of the votes, but I know as of the first releasing of the votes, the starting lineup for the West was going to be the Golden State Warriors, all 5 players.
Right, and the East was going to have LeBron, Kyrie, and K-Love.
Yeah, which now is different because
Right.
Giannis is now that second forward,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not sure who the other ones will be. I'm sure LeBron and Kyrie will get in there. As starters.
Yeah.
But does something need to be done because there's too many people who vote on these things who opinions just shouldn't be considered.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's an issue, especially now when everybody's either a Cavs fan or a Warriors fan.
Right.
So I would like to see something changed, but I don't think it will.
Right.
I think using the hashtag NBA vote, it's a great marketing tool.
Right.
It really is, and even somebody like Joel Embiid can get his own campaign going,
Right.
and I think I don't think it's going to change ever.
Yeah.
Because I don't think in the end the All-Star game itself doesn't hold much weight.
Right. Well, and I know with Major League Baseball, the fans get to select the starters as well, but the rosters are obviously a lot bigger, and every team has to have a representative. But one of the cool things that I think that baseball does is after the teams are picked, they take somebody who's considered a quote-unquote snub and allow a fan voting to vote in one of those final 4 players, one for the American, one for the National. Do they do something like that for the NBA where they say, okay, we're going to allow the fans to pick so the highest 3 players from the East, the highest 3 players from the West are guaranteed starters, and the players or coaches get to pick the other 2 and the reserves, and then based on snubs, the fans can pick that 4th player.
Right. I would like that, but I'm just worried that with the snubs, the person with the most popular team's going to get in. So if it's, I don't
Zaza Pachulia.
Right. If it's Zaza Pachulia versus, Harrison Barnes or
or Jabari Parker, for example, could be this year.
Yeah. The team, or Ian Clark, somebody like that, he's going to get in, just because everybody loves the Warriors all of a sudden. So
there's been heavy bandwagon traffic on the highway, so make sure you're careful.
It's all over the place. So I think that's how it could maybe be flawed. I would like to see it though if everybody's voting honestly.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's the biggest problem. There's too many people that have opinions that shouldn't count.
Well, yeah, they're fair weather.
Right. So onto our last topic, and I wanted to save this topic for last because it's going to lead us into everything that we're going to be uploading on the website today.
Yes.
So I want to get to the national championship game because we didn't have a show last week. Were you able to watch Alabama Clemson?
I did.
What was your biggest takeaway from that game?
Clemson's got a good offense.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought Alabama was gonna whoop Clemson.
Yeah.
And
it almost looked that way to start as well.
Yeah, no, but it convinced me that Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback in this draft.
Yes.
For sure. It convinced me that Mike Williams might be the best receiver.
I think you're right on both of those.
Yeah.
For sure. That game, I think, shocked a lot of people. And going into that game, you heard the talk of, if Nick Saban wins this game, he's the greatest coach of all time. If Dabo Swinney wins this game, that could put him in that conversation of our era, being one of the best coaches of our era. Right, a top-tier coach. But that was a great game. Another game that came down all the way to the wire.
Last second.
And the funny thing to me was I think the Alabama player who cost them that second touchdown, I think got in his feelings a little bit because they missed that pick play super early in the game that got Clemson their first touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran the exact same play, and instead of doing what he was supposed to do, the corner grabbed the receiver who was coming in, running the inside route, the pick, and just tackled him because he was like, I'm not letting this happen again, which essentially left the kid wide open for a touchdown.
That's a big no-no.
But yeah, I mean, I guess going forward, obviously both of these teams are going to lose a lot. Do you think that Alabama and Clemson are kind of here to stay now? I mean, Alabama has been, but I guess Clemson has kind of been a late trend.
Clemson's definitely kind of taken the top of the ACC.
Okay.
Where Florida State was before. I think, now they have their recruiting done. People want to go play for Dabo Swinney.
It's going to be plug and play from now, similar to Nick Saban at Alabama.
So it's now they just got to find their next franchise quarterback.
Yeah. And I like what you said about Watson there, because I'll be releasing an article about the top 10 quarterbacks in this draft class, and we're going to be doing a couple of videos here in a couple minutes for you guys to go and view. But before we go, this weekend is going to start the specialty bowls. We have the Senior Bowl and the NFL PA Bowl, both coming up this weekend.
And the East-West Shrine Bowl. Are you going to try to catch all three of those? I usually don't watch the Shrine Bowl.
Okay.
Senior Bowl, I only like the practices.
Watch the practices, just to kind of figure out who's who. And
the game itself is just really fluky. You can't really... I think the players care more about the practice, and the scouts care more.
Well, right, and then practice is kind of that opportunity for those players to show.
They even say by the time of the game, none of the scouts or GMs stay for that.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Right, because
I think that's more just for the people of Mobile that came to watch.
Right, and not only that, but I think it does an injustice to where it's almost like the Pro Bowl, where the defense is kind of going to be.
And the Senior Bowl really is the combine with pads.
Right.
And you get to see, my favorite part of the Senior Bowl practices is the one-on-one offensive line versus.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome.
The best part.
Yeah,
that's where Eric Fisher was kind of identified as the best player in the draft.
Right, and credit to those guys who go through that to find a player like Eric Fisher and find those. Just because, like you said, I mean, those practices are crazy.
They're intense.
They're very intense, and maybe this year we'll end up with another. Maybe not Eric Fisher, where there's a number one pick, but every year around this time when these bowl games start, somebody's name starts to creep up really.
A guy that's right now considered a third, fourth round prospect could be first round.
Yeah,
by the end of the week.
Right. But that is all I got.
So we got a lot to look forward to.
Yes.
Obviously with the championship games.
Yep.
Pro Bowl coming up soon.
Yep.
Can't wait.
The new skills challenge.
I can't wait for the skills challenge. With the best hands competition, I want Larry Fitzgerald to just dominate Odell Beckham. That would be the greatest thing.
What is all going to be involved with that skills challenge?
I was looking at it. It's best hands, kind of a precision passing,
Okay.
and a dodgeball.
Okay.
Tournament.
Well, do you ever watch the lead up to the All-American game for high school?
No.
By chance? Okay. Do you remember the game NFL Quarterback Club?
Yes.
How you could play, you could do all those different things.
Yep.
What if they went to something similar to that? That would be the quarterbacks.
I think they're going to do that.
And I know I don't remember when they stopped, but they used to have like the wide receivers and running backs would do like an obstacle course.
Right, and I think they're doing some kind of relay.
Okay.
So, and I think it's going to be something like the obstacle course.
So they're kind of going back to what they used to do and got away from.
Yeah.
And my favorite was always the strongman competition because Larry Allen would just sit there and go all day, and they would just tell him, hey, you got to stop because there's nobody left for you to compete with.
He was unbelievable. I've beaten out guys like Jonathan Ogden.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Over under, James Harrison benches 225 100 times.
I hope they invite him to come.
Yeah.
But that would be fun watching James Harrison.
So, all right, guys. Well,
yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening.
Yeah.
Remember to go on mysportstop.com. We're going to have some really cool 2017 draft coverage for you.
Yeah.
We're going to be making a push for that. So. Be sure to always come back, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to keep in touch with us. So, thank you guys so much, and be sure to watch a lot of football.